folks, Linda here, back third acre. So one of the big projects I have this fall is to adapt our Shelterlogic. It's a shed-in-a-box, so it's an 8x8 shelter. We used it as a shed while we were building our house, and then converted the frame part, covered it in wire, and used it for the run for our chickens to keep them safe from predators. So what I've done now is I don't need 8x8. It's better suited for a 4x8 to store the chicken feed and quail feed and stuff in. So I'm adapting it. So I have currently got the tarps on the back, the front and the backs of the shelter, and I'm putting a permanent roof structure on it instead, because the tarp that came with it was for an 8x8 and this is now going to be a 4x8, so needing to come up with a roofing structure for it so I can keep my kayak and all of the grain and stuff in there as well. So follow me along. So the Shelterlogic comes with these fitted front and back panels, with the front one having an opening door. So you can see the ridge pole across the center, and I've applied 2 of the roofing panels to that already. So I'm going to work my way down the sides here to enclose it in to keep things dry. So I'm using these Tough X Sea Coaster vinyl corrugated panels. They are 8 feet long, and although the coverage for the shelter that I'm doing is only 4 foot long, it gives me room to extend out the back and out the front for a little bit of additional protection from rain. So excuse all the mess here, it's obviously under construction. I'm also using these Master Gripper metal to wood fasteners. So they've got a little rubber gaskety thing or washer, not a construction person, so that when it gets drilled through, that it forms a seal around it. Yeah, I definitely have to pre-drill into the metal of the frame first, and then screw these in and screw the panels to that. So you might be wondering why I opted for the corrugated plastic compared to the aluminum roofing stuff that I used for the chicken coop. Part of it is just due to my own abilities or lack of abilities. So doing these types of projects on my own, lifting the aluminum panels up onto the roof was going to be a bit of a challenge. Also, we are in a climate here that gets very rarely do we get snow, so that's a consideration as well. But you could absolutely use the corrugated aluminum panels, and I actually think I will do some of that on the sides where I don't have to bring it up over my head, and it might get bumped and stuff is a little bit more. So the vinyl stuff definitely won't hold up to being bumped and dented in the same way that the aluminum will. So I think I'll switch to the aluminum for some of the lower parts to keep things enclosed, and use the vinyl for the top. So when you're applying the panels, make sure that the lower panel is underneath the top panel, and to have the coverage overlapping by at least a few bumps. So that makes a smoother transition, and as the rain and debris are falling onto the roof, that they're just flowing from one panel to the next down towards the ground. So that overlap is important, so you don't have a gap there where the rain can get in. This is also important that you have a pre-drill the holes, and because I did it also through the front canvas panel, it made lining up the screw through the panel, through that tarp, the brown tarp, and into the metal a bit challenging. So that was difficult at the height and at the angle, and working on my own. So that takes a little bit of fussing around, and using those screws with that seal washer on it will again prevent water from leaking in where you're attaching it to the steel frame. Also, when you add in the next panels, you'll see what I'm doing here. When you're adding it underneath the upper one, it increases the strength of the panel as well, gives it some additional reinforcement. And because there's a 4-foot gap between the front of the shelter and the rear, additional strength is definitely helpful if you're getting a lot of leaves or additional debris falling. So there we're finished. You'll notice a bit of a gap there on each of the sides. That's because I'm also using it to store a kayak under there, so I needed to have it sticking out the sides. So I could also replace, if I take the kayak out and don't want to store it there, I could just add another panel onto that area with great ease. So yeah, it's completely enclosed now, and we'll keep the roof carrier, the kayak, and then on the bottom area there, I've got all of the chicken and quail food and additional cages and buckets and feeders and things for the poultry. So it's got a nice amount of space on 1/3 of an acre. I didn't have room for an 8x8 shelter any longer, and I didn't need that much room, so reducing it down to the 4x8 is a better utilization of space. If you look up to the roof, it's got a nice degree of protection, and overlapping those panels have made nice smooth seams. All tidied up. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.